Hey guys, this is John Vesley here. Now you may be asking, why would you wrap your headers? Now typically when you get aftermarket headers, all it's going to be is either mild steel or stainless steel and just bare metal. And so those things are just big heat sinks, and it's going to heat up the ambient temperature inside your engine bay. That gets significantly hot when it's just bare metal. So hot to where I've noticed most of the plastic components in my engine bay are getting dry and cracked out, and I have to replace all of it. I've already replaced some, but then all the other parts I haven't replaced are coming off. For example, my wiring harness, maybe even some of the hoses for the vacuum lines and all that are getting brittle over time and will fail prematurely. So that's one of the reasons. But also one of the main reasons as well, performance-wise, is it greatly affects your intake air temperature. You may have a cold air intake, but whenever your engine bay temperatures are really hot, definitely just from doing a couple pulls or just driving, staying at a stoplight here and there, the underhood temperatures are going to increase significantly. And so even though you have a cold air intake, that's greatly going to affect your performance. Now the rule of thumb, for every 10 degrees that your air intake decreases, that's 1.2% horsepower you increase. And that's because the cooler the air, the more resistant your engine is to knock, and also there's more oxygen. So with that factored together, and obviously a bunch of other variables like humidity and all that, it will increase about 1.2% horsepower. So let's say, for example, right now, for round numbers, it's 100 degrees, and the truck at this moment in 100-degree weather makes 400 horsepower. If tomorrow it drops down to 60 degrees, this truck will be making 20 more horsepower just from a 40-degree temperature change. And I know that may sound a lot for a little, a 40 degrees, a big swing, but let's say you have a 1,000 horsepower car. That's a significant amount of power that you gain just from that. So a 10-degree change, 20-degree change, maybe even a 5-degree change, if you have significantly more horsepower, that's going to be a bigger horsepower number you're affecting. So maybe if you have a smaller engine, it's only producing 200, there may not be a big enough difference you feel, but trust me, I don't know if you've taken your car in the summertime and driven it and then taken it out in a cold winter day, like 30 degrees, 20 degrees. The car's completely different. And so that's the big factor. And so if you can take the heat from your new exhaust and contain it to where it doesn't really affect your intake air temperature, you're golden. So not only do you get the increased horsepower from the better exhaust, you can also block out the negative effect of increasing the air intake temperature. Now I know that all sounds great and stuff, but why would you not want to wrap your headers? Well, when I did the video on wrapping my headers, I got a lot of negative comments saying, oh, don't wrap your headers. All it's going to do is rust them away. It's going to break welds. It's going to do all this stuff. I can tell you right now, I've had these headers on for 4 years, daily driving my truck, and sure, the headers have a little bit of tarnish on it, but I'm not even going to call it rust because there's no pitting. It's literally tarnish. And these are stainless steel headers, so they're not really going to rust. Now, I can see if you wrapped your headers and they were mild steel, of course they're going to rust. They're going to rust anyways. So I didn't really see a negative effect on the rusting. Now, obviously, if you wrap your headers wrong and put too much wrap and contain too much heat in the headers, you can actually fatigue them and they can crack over time. So that's why you just got to make sure you wrap your headers the way that the manufacturer specifies. And the other downside to headers is that they're not really abrasion resistant. No matter what, if you are working on your car and you're rubbing on it, I've had it happen many times to where I'm taking out a spark plug or I'm wrenching on something and I just rub up against it and there's a hole in the header wrap now. That's going to happen. It's not abrasion resistant at all. And actually the lifespan of these is only just a couple years. And so you should typically re-wrap your headers every few years. It's going to unravel, and that's just how it is. And also, if after the fact you put on your headers like I did and you noticed your intake air temp was through the roof and your underhood temperatures were through the roof, and you're like, man, I should get some header wrap, you're going to have to take your headers out again and then wrap them and then reinstall them. And the wrapping process does take a little while, and reinstalling them does take a little while. So there's that factor. Now, I was looking on the internet because I knew I needed to replace my header wrap, and I was like, what should I do? Now, I found this product called Header Armor, and again, I'm not sponsored by them, but I just thought it would be good to show y'all because I didn't know about this until like a year ago. And basically, it's just an aluminum sheet, like corrugated, and it has about a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch insulation on it. And literally all you do is you just cut out to what you need, and you just kind of wrap it over it and just secure it with some twist wire, and that's literally it. You don't even have to take your headers out, and it works. And so before I knew it, I ordered it. It was expensive, so I was kind of iffy about it. This almost cost $200 just for this header armor, and header wrap was a lot less. I think it was like only $100 for what I needed, maybe a little less. And so I installed this header armor, and I'm not going to do a tutorial video on it because they themselves have like 20 different tutorial videos, and it's really simple, to be honest with you. If I was able to do it in a few hours, you could do it as well. And this header armor essentially does the same thing as header wrap, other than you're actually just covering the top half of the headers, so you're shielding the rest of the engine bay from the heat. And they say to not wrap your entire header just because it holds so much heat, apparently, that you can actually crack your header, fatigue it, and all this stuff. If you get expensive headers, like for example American racing headers, header wrap may void the warranty on those, but this header armor doesn't. And so that is a good choice. Also too, this stuff is fairly easy to apply. I would say significantly easier to apply than it was with the header wrap. And also too, this stuff is abrasion resistant. Once you put this on, it's an aluminum shield over your headers, and so you can work on your car and all this stuff. And obviously time will tell, and I'm going to keep on updating you as far as my opinions on this. Now, I tried to plan out this video to where I had tests from bare headers with the header wrap and with the header armor, and it kind of fell through the cracks. It was kind of my fault for not making sure the temperature stayed the same outside. So the temperature difference between each test I had was 10 degrees, 20 degrees, and 30 degrees of difference. And I know with these results I have right now, the header armor is the highest as far as temperature, but then again, it's also from whenever I did the header wrap versus now, it's a 30-degree difference outside, and it falls between the 30-degree temperature range from the header wrap. So that's a good sign. And so I'm gonna try to find a day that's 80 degrees outside to be able to compare it to the header wrap, and then a day that's 90 degrees outside to compare it to the bare metal. So that's about all I got today. I tried to stick it old school to my old videos that I did a few years back and just kind of explaining things. So I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe so y'all can be notified whenever I post the video, my findings on whether the header armor is worth it or not. So that's about all I got today. Thank you, and I'll see y'all next video.